Okay, so we're doing this. I'm gonna add on to the deluge of many Uber videos on YouTube. I think that they're all important. I think that everybody has a story, and it's all been very educational. Whether it's Rideshare Guy, Uberman, Sean Viper, or any of the many Uber tutorial videos. I started Uber in March of this year, so I've been doing it for about 7 months, give or take a couple weeks. But there have been times where I've taken a week off or two. When I first started in March, I was kind of on a buzz, and I was like, I had been broke, and so when I started doing Uber, I was so like kind of hyped on it and sort of like on adrenaline because of when you're used to being broke and then all of a sudden you're like making money, you get very hyperactive about it. But then there were certain things that made me kind of go, I don't know if I like this. It's been a very back and forth kind of experience. One minute I'm going, oh, this is great, and I met this person and that person, and I've met some pretty famous people doing it in LA. I don't want to name drop, but somebody, probably our most famous rock star of the 90s, his daughter was in my car. And she's pretty famous herself, so. But that was very interesting. But my point is that you meet people that are millionaires, you meet people that are homeless, and it's all kind of a crapshoot. I mean, it can be dangerous, but for the most part, it's not. But I think in the last few days, there's been that. Last week, there was a guy that attacked the guy in Newport Beach, or I think Orange County somewhere. But I have actually finally ordered a dash cam, which I'm supposed to get in a few days. I mean, there's been a lot of experiences where I'm like, I shouldn't have to take this. But you know what? I wouldn't say it's a very small percentage. I mean, most of the rides you get are the people are fine, and I don't have a very strong strategy in terms of the rating system. I almost always give everybody 5 stars. I don't know if that's smart or not, but I mean, I only give people less than 5 stars if they're really bad. Like, I remember for like the first few months, I only gave 5 stars, and then I had these like 4 strippers that were really, really rude and like just yelling and just crazy. And I gave them 4 stars. I was about ready to drop them off. But anyway, I know that was a big deal for me to only give them 4 stars. So, and then there was a couple other times, and then recently, somebody was spitting in my car. So, the guy was drunk. But the thing is, he wasn't the guy with his name on. It was the other girl who was the actual customer. So I gave them I did give them 3 stars because I sort of feel like if you're the customer and you're bringing in people that are drunk and spitting, you are partially responsible for that because, I mean, you have to know that, I have to clean that shit up, you know what I mean? So it's not cool, But 3 stars is not horrible, but it's probably the worst I've ever given anybody, I think, So, anyway, how I started on Uber was, well, the funny thing is, I've driven taxi cabs before in Los Angeles and Santa Monica, but that was like 2007, 2009 was the last time I did it. and it was good and bad, but the thing I didn't like about it was not feeling like I had any control over the quality of the vehicle. So the idea of using my own vehicle seemed very enticing. But I didn't have a car for a long time. I was going carless, and then like last year I was traveling. I was in India. I was working in India, and I was in Thailand. And a friend of mine from India was visiting me, or not visiting, but visiting San Francisco, and I was hanging out with him. San Francisco, we went to a conference, and we took an Uber somewhere, and he was like, "Jeremy, why don't you do Uber? You can make a lot of money." And I was like, I don't have a car, and the driver was all, "Oh, well, Uber could like help you finance a car and all this," and I thought about going that route. And I actually, the reason I went in to get a car at Freeman Toyota, or no, I'm sorry, it wasn't Freeman Toyota, it was North Hollywood Toyota, was because of a email that I got from Uber saying that they were participating in that, and that I could qualify for a financing through Uber. But it was kind of like the catalyst for me getting a car, but at the same time I didn't use Uber to finance a car because I would have had to get like a newer car, and my payments would have been really high. Instead, I got a 2008 Toyota, and my payments are still pretty high, almost $300 a month. But it's better than like $500 a month if I would have got a brand new car. I mean, in some ways, it would have been nice to get a brand new car, and a Prius would have been good on gas. But a Yaris is really good on gas. It's like the next best Toyota for gas. But anyway, I'm digressing a lot. So I started doing Uber in late March, the day after I got my car, because I had already had all my information put in about a year before, because I was going to use one of my friend's cars to do it. But then I ended up in India and Thailand, and I didn't do it. And so they had my information. So when I got my new car, all I had to do was have it inspected. And then I went down to the office in Westwood, and since I have this iPhone 4, they said, "Oh, you need a better phone, so just rent one of our phones." So actually the phone that I'm videoing on is the Uber phone. There's a lot more room for videoing on it, and a lot of times my phone, I don't have room to make videos, so a lot of times I actually use my Uber phone for videos. So anyway, where were we? So I got the phone, and I'm in the office, and I actually turn the app on, and immediately I actually get a fare. So I'm like, "Oh wow, this is cool! Like, it actually works, right?" But that same fare was all screwed up because the something in the app was glitchy, and it hopped ahead to as if I had picked him up. And then it hopped ahead to as if I had dropped off the passenger. It was all screwed up, and I couldn't get in touch with the passenger because when I tried to call, it didn't work because it was as if I didn't have the passenger in my car anymore. So I was all frustrated, and I was like, "Oh, I don't think this is going to work out." And I went back to the office, and then they fixed it. I think they just fixed the phone, or they gave me a different phone, maybe. But and then I had a really nice girl, Santa Monica. I remember she was like just moved here to LA, and she was really sweet. And then my second fare was from Santa Monica Staples Center. It was like $50. And that's when I started getting happy about Uber. I was like, wow, if I just have like a few of those a day, I'm good. But you don't always get those fares. A lot of times you get the little $5 fares, the little $6 fares, which aren't worth it because Uber takes their dollar plus 20% off every ride. So those little piddly fares are kind of screwy because you have to drive. You don't get paid while you're driving and waiting for the person. And then, it's kind of like if you're driving like say 5 to 10 minutes to pick somebody up, and then you're waiting another few minutes, and then they're only going a couple miles. It's really screwed up, actually, because this is actually why Lyft is a lot of ways better than Uber, because in Lyft they have an option where they can actually tip you. So that makes a big difference, I think, because if you're doing these short rides and you're not getting a tip, on top of getting such a crappy payment, that can be frustrating. And also the cancellations can be frustrating too, because you can drive towards somewhere, and someone can cancel on you, and I think if it's under a certain amount of time, you don't even get any money for it. So it's like, really, that's part of it that's frustrating. But it kind of balances out, because then sometimes you'll get a really good ride, or sometimes, I mean, if you cancel on someone because they're taking too long, you do get $5 minus the dollar, so you get $4. It's not really worth it, though, because you had to drive there, blah de blah, wait around. It's not really worth it, but it's better than nothing. But anyway, I'm gonna do part 2.